Okay. Let's see. I'm going to put my ears in. I'm a little bit early because I just wanted to make sure that everything was happening smooth on this first live. I'm going to check which microphone I'm using, if that's at all possible. How do I do that? We'll just see how it all goes. And let me mute my phone. And so if you're coming into this space, go ahead and make sure that you have some water and maybe a notepad. I find that during the check-in, sometimes once we start really giving attention to what we're feeling, or to whatever parts are present, or today we were exploring in a group that I am part of in the morning, that we have many defenses to not feeling like a core wound. And sometimes the defense is spaciness and like just can't get into your body, can't get into, and that is a protection. It's also known as a leaving pattern. But there are many, many ways. Some people just go hard. And that's also another way that they cannot access they just feel like stone. And that's another way. And these are all really, really natural. There's nothing wrong with these patterns. It's just something we adopted to help ourselves during times of our life when we had like very little autonomy, and weren't allowed to make decisions and didn't quite know how to comprehend, the way our needs were not being met or were being met. And so there's all sorts in there. And if you're interested in a conversation with me about it, come on over to my Instagram at Sydney EFT Guide. And you can message me. We can have a phone call and we can chat it through, whatever questions that might be arising during this process. So I'm just going to adjust my lighting a little bit. I don't know if that helps. It's a very dark day. So, just for those of you who are new to me, I am an American, but I live in Peru and I live in the jungle. And this was a decision I made for my life. And it took me years to really kind of work through the blocks that I had about making this kind of a move. And finally, through years of uncovering, and also years of really kind of being stuck in so many patterns. And once I started liberating myself from them, I started going, well, what am I living this life for? I have these passions that I'm not following through with. And well, I want to start getting to it, and one of the passions for me was to, live in a tropical environment. And when I had come here for the first time, this place just sang to my soul. It resonated inside of my body. I could feel it in my energy, just zing. And to me, whenever I feel that zing, it's a yes. And I began to get to know my body like that. And when something is really draining me, like my life in in the States, that really felt like a no, a no more. So I started following my yeses. And this is what's true for me. So Now, as I'm coming into today's Wednesday check-in, and if you're brand new to the Wednesday check-in, it's a self check-in procedure that just kind of intuitively became what it is through working with my own protectors inside. Um, I work with a method of parts work, meaning that we have parts inside of us that are like children or like protectors or like managing or, you know, they call them in IFS, which I'm not an IFS practitioner, but I do follow like kind of this idea and this formula. They also talk about the firefighters that will like, the second you start feeling something uncomfortable, you might run to a substance or a habit in order to kind of put out that fire. And so, um, and I do all of this checking in with the emotional body, checking in with the parts that are active in me, and checking in with any physical sensations, and really bringing that attention, taking the time to bring that attention into my body, into my internal experience, into this internal world that typically we are trained to ignore and or maybe to judge. And I've found quite the opposite is the most beneficial when we start really going in and start saying hello to this wounded part of you and talking with maybe parts that are a little judgmental, critical, and trying to develop a relationship that is more compassionate is one way to really develop a more compassionate relationship with yourself, which was something that I lacked for most of my life. And so in this check in, we will be using tapping as well to go in and really kind of anchor in and ground in. So if you're not familiar with tapping, tapping is a tool that helps you to stimulate energetic points, energetic systems in your body. And it really helps you to find a more grounded place while exploring some of these more uncomfortable feelings that we have. We can also use tapping to explore the comfortable feelings like joy and gratitude, and really just keeps energy flowing, which a lot of times that's why we focus on a little bit I'm not going to say negative because they're not negative, they're just uncomfortable. And some of them are really intense, some of these feelings. And so we typically don't want to feel it and we push it down. And then that creates kind of a stuck energy inside of us. So bringing in tapping and talking about what it is I'm feeling in my body and the emotions that are present, and taking the position of the self that observes what is happening inside of me, and also taking the position of maybe these are just parts of me that are activated and they're blending with me to get my attention. And so part of this practice is I'm going to give these parts my attention so that they don't feel the need to take me over and hijack me, like when it's really not convenient. And this is something I struggled with my whole life until about 6 years ago when I really started diving into my tapping practice after something very difficult happened in my life, which some of you might know me and know what that was. And if you don't, I'll put out a video later about it. So let's just get to it and just follow along. If you're brand new, just trust this process. And you might have parts of you that perk up, that go, "What? I have to accept that this is how I feel? I don't accept this is how I feel." And this is kind of the process. And we're going to observe anytime something comes up that has that kind of a narrative. And for this process, just observe that it is there. And we're not going to try and change it. We're not going to try and, we're also going to accept that that part is around as well. So, anyhow, after a long introduction, let us begin. Go ahead and place your hands, one hand on your heart, one hand below your belly button. Closing your eyes and just bring your attention first to how active is your mind state right now. And we're just going to bring attention to it, observing it. Say, yes, my mind is active. Or, no, my mind is able to focus. And if it is really active, sometimes I like to go ahead and remind my mind that that this is an important process and that this is part of my list of things to do. And if it can just take a seat for 20 minutes while I bring my focus inwards. And sometimes there's some defenses that are up, and you can say, we're not going to do anything too hard today. This is just a check-in. I'm just checking into my state of being. Now, I will say, if at any time something feels really intense, you can go ahead and pause the video and just tap. Just tap on the points. I do have some videos in my collection, in the videos, that can be supportive. But sometimes just breathing and tapping on the points is all that you need to do to bring yourself back to a grounded state. And of course, you can reach out and we can chat about it afterwards. So, now bring your attention to your breath and just take note of how are you breathing in this moment. And we're not here to judge it or change it. We're just here to take note. Is it all the way into your belly? Does it feel easy? Does it feel a little tense and shallow? And so I'll just say what I'm experiencing. And now today, yes, I'm breathing into my belly, but it does feel a little tense. And so I'm just observing this. And now let's bring our attention to the physical sensations in our body. And so first, if there's anything that just stands out, whether it's a pain somewhere or obvious tension, holding, sometimes vibration, And as you bring your attention to it, just take note if there is a story around it or if there's any judgment about it. And go ahead and, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most intense, you feel it. 1 being, I barely feel it. Just go ahead and give it it's a subjective number. And so I'll say there's this overall kind of tense feeling in my body. And I'll say I feel it at about a 4. So it's really not too bad, but it is something I'm noticing. And sometimes we want to to your inner experience. We're not trying to make a thing out of it. We're just at this tension. I'm feeling it on the front side of my body, which might be my feminine side. So I'm just putting that into my mind, making a note of that. And then let's move on to the emotions. We're just observing and saying out loud what emotions are present either right now, or maybe there was something earlier during the day that you felt on a certain level, and maybe it wasn't the right time. Maybe you knew that it was inconvenient to feel this emotion in the moment, and so you might have said not now and pushed it down. And so now is a good time to go into that feeling and acknowledge that it came up for you. So for me right now, I'm feeling some anxiety. As I said before, there's a part of me that is just feeling like a lot of buzzing energy. And it feels mostly centered in my solar plexus. So go ahead, and the emotion that you're feeling, or the sensation that you're feeling on an emotional level, go ahead and sort of locate it in your body and describe it just a little bit more. Again, we're just trying to connect with it on an observation and awareness level to kind of strengthen that muscle of awareness. And also give it a number, 1 out of 10, 10 being intense. And if you're feeling a 10, you might want to pause the replay and just tap and breathe for a moment. And like for me right now, this anxiety, subjectively, the number's coming in at a 6. So it's a little higher than. So it's at an uncomfortable level, but I can handle the uncomfortable things. And there may be more emotions that are at play, but when we're doing a check in, especially when we're new to this process, let's just go ahead and stick with the most prevalent in the moment. And now is the point where I like to scan what parts of me are present at this moment. And so when I say parts, again, if you're not familiar, just think about like how you naturally say, there's a part of me that feels scared right now, or there's a part of me that feels so angry right now, or there's this part of me that just wants to control everything, you know? It's very natural for us to say this. And so, without getting too hung up on the words, just naturally, what part feels elevated? And so I'll just say that this part of me, it feels like a younger part of me. Maybe this part of me doesn't feel so sure about myself. And I know I've had bullying in my past. So this is something that I work with quite a bit. It's not something that controls my life anymore, but when I put myself out there on a YouTube live, oh, she's coming up. She's saying, I am nervous. Oof. What are you getting us into? And so I just kind of like to let that expression come out. What are you getting us into? You know, I'm really nervous, she says. You know, what if people, attack you for even saying that you were bullied? They're like, she was bullied before, so we could bully her again. I mean, these are all really real things, And I just want to be as authentic with you guys as possible. This is the experience that I'm having right now. Hoping to help you to guide yourself into some of your more authentic feelings, and that it's okay. We're here to take care of all of these parts and to show up in a real way. So if you were able to connect with a part, great. And if not, that's okay. And let's just go ahead and move into a little bit more deeper breathing. So continuing with your eyes closed, go ahead and take a full, comfortable breath and hold it at the top and sip in a little bit more air. And when you release it, just imagine it's dropping to the floor. Go ahead and take another breath in and hold when you're comfortably full. Now sip in a little bit more air and release the air, and maybe something else wants to be released and drop to the floor. And now last time, let's go ahead and take a nice, full, comfortable breath. Hold it at the top. Sip in a little bit more air. Hold it again. Expand just a little bit more. Sip in a little more air. And really release this time. Releasing your shoulders, releasing your neck, releasing your head. Maybe some sound wants to come out. Maybe you want to flutter your lips a little bit. We're just releasing all of this to the ground. Now find your natural rhythm of breath again. And maybe you can notice a change. Maybe you notice it's still the same, and that's fine. But keeping your eyes closed, bring your attention to the weight of your body in your chair, on the floor, on your bed, wherever you are. Bring your attention to the sensation of the weight of your body connecting to whatever it is it's connecting to. And look inside. Like for me, I'm sitting, so the backs of my legs are on the chair, backs of my thighs. And I'm looking into the sensation for more subtle sensations. And now I'm just bringing my attention to the area that surrounds me. And as I take a breath, I'm aware that I'm breathing in air that surrounds me. And this air supports my life. This air is something that my body needs and receives with every breath. And all of this is really quite intelligent. And it's sort of creation, intelligence. And I was made from that same intelligent, creative energy. And so were you. And we are observing it at this moment. And this awareness is aware of a lot more than just our life here on earth. And as you bring yourself into your body a little bit more, go ahead and lightly rub your fingers across your skin or across your body. Open your eyes and let's go ahead and begin. We're going to always begin tapping on the side of our hand. And if you're new to the Wednesday check-in, to the self check-in, go ahead and follow the words that I say. And if there are words that resonate better, then go ahead and say those words. Okay. And let us begin. I am taking this time to check in with myself because I love and accept myself as I am. I am taking this time to give attention to what I'm feeling in my body. Because I honor the feelings that I am feeling. I am giving loving attention to the parts inside of me that are active right now. And these parts may be indicating to me through my body and my emotions. And the more attention that I give these parts of me, the less they feel the need to take me over completely. And so little by little, I am building a stronger relationship with my inner world. And little by little, my parts are becoming more comfortable with me. I'm going to take a pause here for a second because I'm not quite sure if you can hear me. Hmm. Hello, hello. I hope so. I'm going to find out after. Excuse me for that interruption. So I'm doing this self check-in, checking in with all these parts, these emotions, and these things I feel in my physical body because I deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself exactly as I am. Or at least I'm learning how to. Coming to the eyebrow point. I'm giving loving attention to the things I'm physically feeling in my body. Side of the eye. And go ahead and say what those physical things you are feeling. Under the eye. Excuse me, one more thing. I know today's going to be the day full of pausing. Excuse me. While I work out all the kinks. Okay. And go ahead and say how intense it feels. If you recall that number, the subjective number from before, under the nose, and go ahead and say out loud what the sensation feels like in more descriptive words, what you recalled. On the chin. And there may be training inside of me to subdue or suppress what I am feeling physically in my body. Collarbones to numb the pain, so to speak. Under the arm. But these feelings that I'm feeling in my body are indications of something. Indications of something asking for my attention. Top of the head. And these physical things that I'm feeling in my body are part of the experience of being human, which I came here to do. Coming to the eyebrow point, and I'm giving loving attention to emotions that are present. Side of the eye. Go ahead and say what emotions those are. So for me, I was feeling this anxiety, which is fear. under the eye, and go ahead and say what intensity it's at on that scale of 1 to 10. And so for me, it was a 4 or a 6. It was a 6. Under the nose, and get a little bit more descriptive about it. Where do you feel it in your body? What is the sensation like? So for me, I was feeling it in my solar plexus. It feels like tension, vibration. It's uncomfortable. On the chin. And there may be training in me to suppress the emotions that I'm feeling or label them as bad. On the collarbone. But I am learning that my emotions are indicators, indicating to me something deeper going on. Under the arms. And maybe these are actually parts of me that are indicating, trying to get my attention through my emotions. Something needs attention. Top of the head. And these emotions are part of the human experience. And everybody feels them. And apparently, I chose to have this experience. Coming back to the eyebrow, and I'm giving loving attention to parts of me that are activated right now. Side of the eye, go ahead and say which parts of you were activated. So for me, it's a younger part. Maybe coming from a time when I was bullied. Under the eye. And go ahead and say those things that the part wants to express. Like whatever the dialogue is, the narrative is. It's like, really? You're making us do this? You're exposing us to strangers. This makes me feel really nervous. Under the nose. Express a little bit more. I feel afraid. On the chin. And maybe I was trained in the past to think that these parts of me are bad. On the collarbone. But I'm learning more and more that they're just kind of my inner children. And they just need some love. And they're really just trying to keep me safe. Under the arm. And I'm learning how to connect with these parts of me and allow them to express instead of suppressing their voices. Top of the head. because these parts are part of the human experience that we are all living and that I came here to do. So go ahead and take a breath. Close your eyes and bring both your hands to your heart. And just check in. Maybe you were able to connect with this part in a visual way. Maybe there's a memory or a message coming up. And after one round of tapping, and almost most of the time, you're able to connect to those more subtle voices that are inside, which is a really good thing. And you're able to quiet down the noise of the mind that's trying to distract you. And with these messages or memories that come up, sometimes you just want to do one more round of tapping. And you can just riff on whatever it is that comes up. So this memory came up, and the feelings that come with it are, and it was of me when I was, and you can just tap. There's no real recipe, just tapping is really helpful. I felt this emotion and I still feel it now. And this is coming to my memory for some reason, and maybe you know the reason and maybe you don't. But it's something that's coming up, and now I can process it. It's in my conscious awareness. And it's not, slammed down in my subconscious area. And so if you're able to do this practice without too much activation, then I would just say keep building this practice. And if you do get activated and the emotions feel really hard to handle, then working with a practitioner like myself, I also have a lot of colleagues that I work with. And it's really kind of this metaphorical holding your hand so that you can go through this and not be alone while you go through it. Because a lot of times when we went through something that was really difficult, we weren't able to really process it because there might have been this also feeling, this overwhelming feeling of, I am alone with this. And I know for me, I love working with my colleagues. And, there's a lot that I'm able to process on my own. But there's something about getting that perspective on the outside, somebody else's perspective, somebody else to watch the cues in my face, to watch the cues, listen for cues in my words, and go, let's go into that. If that feels safe. Or sometimes it doesn't feel safe to go into the memory or the event that happened. Sometimes we can just tap on how intense it feels, even just talking about going into it. And tapping and really working with the acceptance of what is, there is so much letting go that can happen. And then all of a sudden you feel like, well, Well, it doesn't matter or not if I go into this, thing that happened to me. But I feel a little bit more attended to. So if you're interested in at least having a phone call with me, a connection call, so to speak, please reach out in the comments or send me a message, an email, and we can set up a connection call over Zoom and just kind of have a fluid conversation about this whole process, what it is that I do in private sessions, one on one. There's so much that I personally have overcome in my life, not to mention that today, actually, no, tomorrow is my 5-year anniversary for quitting smoking. And that was something that I didn't think I could do because I was a smoker for a long time. And now it feels like I was like, really? It's only been 5 years? Because it feels like I never smoked. When I see somebody smoking, I've completely let that go. And it wasn't the habit that I let go of. It was calling it my friend that I let go of. This connection that I had to something outside of me, being the answer to my problems. No, I now am the answer to my problems, quote unquote problems. So I've been on here quite a while. I'm going to hop on here again in about 10, 15 minutes to do all of this again in Spanish. So I'll leave it here. And I hope something in this resonates with you. Again, reach out to me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Please don't be too abusive. Please like and subscribe if you are new to this channel. And I will be putting out more content as far as like free videos, 5-10 minutes that you can tap along on certain topics that have been prevalent to my healing process and maybe relevant to yours. Have a great day.